When I went out of my way to find footage of this episode, I was pleasantly reminded that they used to have promos right before every show.
Today on Power Rangers, the gang plans to attend a costume party.
I wonder who will win first prize. Hey, who else?
I forgot they used to do that back then. It actually made me smile in a nostalgic sort of way, but now they've gone the way of, well, Saturday morning cartoons, just like those little bumpers they used to play when the show came back from a commercial break.
Now back to Beetlejuice.
We now return to Slimer and the Real Ghostbusters.
And don't get me started on the lack of PSAs nowadays.
Go, Gadget, shovel! Wowzers, I got sand in my eye.
Don't rub it, Uncle Gadget.
I know, Penny. Keep it closed until the tears wash it out. Ah, that's better.
But I'm really getting off track here. I should be talking about Life's a Masquerade. The only scary part is in the first 2 seconds. It's Halloween, and everyone is setting up for a party at the juice bar that's owned by Ernie, the guy that looks like the love child of Frank Caliendo and Louis Anderson. But social gatherings between awkward teenagers are one of the things that brings Rita's blood to a boil. She decides that the situation calls for something more than the average monster, so she orders Finster to make the nastiest creature he can think of. He accomplishes this by changing absolutely nothing and just pulling a lever. It turns out that the next creation in Finster's pipeline was a Frankenstein monster, complete with red eyes and a flat head. His look gets summed up perfectly by Ernie when he says,
Now that is a costume.
And based on his convulsive movements, he's either blind or just totally unable to do the Thriller dance. Either way, Rita orders the monster to destroy the Power Rangers, yet somehow he already knows who that is. He takes it pretty well for someone that's only experienced life for 5 seconds. He really should be saying something like,
Where am I? Power Rangers? What's that? Are you my mom?
Nope, he just accepts it and vows to do her bidding, but she doesn't even have the courtesy to teleport him inside Angel Grove. I guess he could use the exercise. Especially when he gets sidetracked and winds up at a ramen stand eating fistfuls of cockroach-ridden ramen. Meanwhile, across town, Bulk and Skull are getting ready. Skull is picking out clothes while Bulk uses what I can best describe as a portable glory hole. They try on outfits like Captain Hook and Peter Pan, along with Skinny and Fat Elvis. The monster sees the scene unfolding and decides that he wants none of it. Bulk and Skull just say screw it and go in their street clothes because, if you think about it, they always did dress up like a lesbian couple at a biker bar. We see that the Halloween party is already in full swing, and the bloated corpse behind the bar is none other than Ernie doing the YMCA one arm at a time.
Yo, Angela, you wanna dance?
Go back to your tune, Tut.
Zach must be a true pharaoh because he just got passed over. So despite not knowing exactly who or what the Power Rangers are, the monster is still able to stumble upon them in the middle of the party, but he just kind of lingers in the background for a little bit while Jason and Zach complain about all the mad trim Alpha 5 is getting.
So cute. I just love the way you talk.
Yeah, they really love him short and squeaky voiced. Hey, if women can still have a crush on Ted Bundy, then I guess anything is possible. Eventually, the lumbering, inarticulate elephant in the room makes himself known, and this gives Sherlock Billy a hunch about who the monster might be.
I'll have to search for more clues, but could that Frankenstein be Tommy?
Hey, I didn't say it was a smart hunch.
Just a joke, man! Get over it!
Could that Frankenstein be Tommy?
So it's up to Billy and his deductive reasoning to solve the mystery.
My deductive reasoning tells me you're not Tommy.
And by deductive reasoning, I mean a functioning brain. So Billy follows the monster to the cave, and they're lucky because I'm guessing Roman was away at the time and he took his bubble machine with him. Or maybe they're the same person. They walk a little alike with a sort of blind gait, and I've never seen them together in the same room, just saying. So the monster leads Billy to an underground mine where Squat and Babu are collecting clay to make a new breed of super strong putty patrollers. You know, those gray Cirque du Soleil rejects. But Billy sets off their high-tech motion sensor and blows his cover.
It's time for molecular transmutation. Triceratops!
That's a good example of why Billy was always my favorite. He doesn't just say, it's Morphin time, like Jason loves to say so much. He had his own geeky way of saying it. Even though he tended to do it ad nauseum, it's still a big reason why I liked him. Plus he's blue, and color is pretty much the only thing that matters when you're 5 years old. A battle ensues when suddenly the ground begins to shake. It's a tiny model of Rita. I mean, it's actually Rita, and she finally has enough clay to complete her putty project. We get a nice sample of the word salad that this show would often do in order to put words in their mouths that match the lip movement. Sentences that end up sounding stilted and awkwardly constructed.
That is so beautiful. Oh, have a nice day. I love to get nasty. It's so nice.
This causes Billy to run away with his tail between his legs. Or as he'd probably put it, he vacates the confrontation with his rear protrusion between his lower extremities. Rita's experiment causes a tremor that's felt even at the juice bar.
Just settle down, everybody. It's just a small earthquake. It's just a tremor. Relax.
That's the worst excuse for his weight problem that I've ever heard. Billy gathers the rest of the crew and they head to Power Rangers headquarters so Captain Exposition can fill them in on all the hullabaloo. They desperately need to find Tommy, but he's preoccupied with a free performance by Mummenschanz. Now that they're all filled in on the situation, it's time for Jason's favorite part. It's a phrase that he just can't stop saying. I bet he can't wait.
It's Morphin time.
Oh, never mind. Nevertheless, they warp to downtown Tokyo for the epic showdown with the Frankenstein knockoff. The monster is easily destroying all 5 of them, but then in a total display of hubris, Rita ups the stakes and makes her monster grow. So the Rangers summon their Zords, and this is something I've always wondered. How does the T-Rex keep up with all the other dinosaurs? The only way I can imagine is if it has like a 180-yard stride or something. Oh, and also, watch out for that tree! Either way, the battle begins and the Rangers are still not able to defeat him, mainly because of his electric neck bolts and a gravity-defying ball and chain. They really need Tommy, but he has his own problems. If only he could break away from this very aggressive group of starving theater performers and music video background dancers, one of which has a severe case of swamp ass. After several shots to the crotch, the gang's Megazord is malfunctioning and they're unable to control it. But I've always wondered something else too. How exactly do they control this thing? Do they each control a limb? Is it telepathic? They summed it up perfectly in Dexter's lab.
Multiformic Megabot go! Dad, what are you? Wait! Just you? No, not that one! Stop!
And that's just the American version. In the original Japanese version, the Zord is actually their sentient god named Daizujin, so that makes even less sense. Like when they want to help their god defeat a bad guy, they jump into his chest, and then what? Give him good thoughts and positive reinforcement? But Tommy is still getting swarmed by putties when they suddenly disappear faster than guests at a party during cleanup time. This gives him a chance to save his friends with his own Zord, but unfortunately, the monster knows its only weakness. Apparently, if you grab a dragon by the tail, it goes limp and becomes docile, just like when you grab a cat by the scruff of their neck. I'm feeling a bit of deja vu here for some reason.
So long, Bowser!
So they use the power of teamwork to persuade the monster to end his evil ways and join the side of justice. Or they just run him through with a staff. And this is toned down from the Japanese version. Only instead of exploding like he does in the US version, he turns into this thing. Eesh. Oh, and then he gets imbued with the spirit of Satan himself. Yes, the devil revives the monster and he literally becomes the spawn of Satan. Yeah, the original version was a lot darker. Even had people dying. So the gang returns to the party just in time for the costume contest, and Jason breaks the record for fastest costume change. Let's go to the timer.
It was cool, so to speak.
You bet I do.
Cool, Alfred. You are a hit.
They like me.
Oh, yeah, what's to like, you tin can? Who are you, anyway?
There it is, street clothes to full makeup in 17 seconds flat. Then they all laugh as nothing of value was learned. Unless the lesson was, when all else fails, just punch a hole in their chest and hope the devil doesn't come out. And that's that. Man, the nostalgia factor for this show is off the scale for me. Not on the same level as Dexter's Lab or Freakazoid, but pleasant nonetheless. Rewatching this reminded me of my time as a clueless 5-year-old, and even then I could tell who the Power Rangers actually were. I've never understood how no one could guess their secret identities. Maybe it's the only group of 6 teenagers that all wear the same monochromatic clothes every day and practice martial arts. It must be Bulk, Skull, and those other people. Yeah!